This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today we're talking with Rence Oliphant, Vice President of Global Sales at Hendrickson. Rence, thanks for taking the time.
You bet, Jason. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to talk about service challenges, right? Because holy moly, has the industry been through something here in the past 4 years, right? We all know what's happened, but trucks have kept rolling. Trucks and trailers have kept rolling all the way through it. And I know it's been a big change in service, working with customers, and in troubleshooting any of their issues. So let's just lay some groundwork here. As it sits here in 2024, from your view, what are the biggest service challenges that are facing fleets today?
Well, the one thing we hear constantly is the fleets are having trouble finding technicians.
Oh, sure.
And as well as maintaining and keeping those technicians. So that's the biggest one we hear. And it's not something we can necessarily help them with, but we want to give their guys the tools to make sure they're up to speed on what Hendrickson provides.
Right, for sure. Well, and I don't want you to sell yourself short there, because there is a lot that you are doing there, right? I mean, the equipment is changing rapidly, technology is changing rapidly, the capabilities, staying on top of that technician training. It goes to both recruiting and retention efforts, right? Because if the technicians have the right tools for the job, they're getting the training they need in a timely manner, they're able to service those trucks and trailers and get them back out on the road for the fleets.
Very true. And you're right, the technology continues to change. You just look today how many telematics suppliers there are. And trying to stay on top of that and trying to select the right ones, that's definitely a challenge for them.
Right. Well, and all the sensors that are going in the components. I know that Hendrickson has a lot going on there.
Oh,
one
yes.
thing that we did have, we've come through the pandemic here, and when we were all, if you can remember, like sheltering in place and social distance and all those words that we haven't said in a year or two, but then when you hear them, it kind of gives you the shudders, right?
Right.
Virtual training or training through this kind of a thing with the video conferencing was something that was big during that time.
Yes.
Does your team still find that valuable here in the post-pandemic world? Do you still utilize it, or has it kind of gone back to the way it was?
Absolutely. It's still a vital part of what we do. Obviously, we'd prefer to do hands-on training for all the fleets and dealers ourselves.
Right.
That's still the number one way to do it. But you are limited. We can only get to so many every year. So it's imperative that we do have an up-to-date program. We call it the Hendrickson Service Academy, where you can go online. We've set it up so it's very easy for the technicians to get a quick snippet on what they're looking for, basically like a YouTube video, where you can go back and look at a Hendrickson product, how you want to fix it, and we limit it to about 3 to 5 minutes at most, where you can watch a process and really understand how you need to check it, make sure it's right and done correctly.
Right. Well, and can you tell me a little bit about that? You mentioned YouTube, and look, we all go, we all search for stuff, we all look for, but working with very specialized equipment, especially with fleet equipment and truck equipment, which could be very specialized. How do you take it and make those Hendrickson videos, right? Make sure that it's specific to the equipment and they're doing it safely and quickly there.
Right.
What goes into that?
And we understand there are going to be some people that go out on YouTube and do it themselves. But we want to control it. We want to make sure we're doing it. And we actually use our technicians in the studio to actually show and on the real product how the job needs to be done.
Right. So it's mirroring that. It's mirroring that kind of in-person training too. I mean, is it the same training that you'd get in person on video, or it's modified?
I wouldn't say it's the same, because if they're there, they're going to take it a little further, a little deeper, and it's going to take more time. Yeah. Doing it over the web, we want to make sure it's quick, and we don't want those guys in the shop taking too much time away.
Right, for sure. So, and I know Hendrickson, you have a field team out there as well. You're working with customers, but how does that all relate to, your service philosophy, right? As the world has changed and equipment has changed, how do you still work with customers to make sure they get what they need? And what does that mean kind of on a philosophical level for you all?
We the biggest thing for us right off the bat, when somebody has an issue, we want to make sure we get that truck back out on the road. So if there's something we can do to help them at least get started, that's number one. But then we also want to make sure that the job is done correctly. So if our guys can get involved and be on hand, see the issue, and help the fleet or dealer get it back going, we want to be able to do that. I will say a lot of the times you'll drag our technicians out and we'll find out that the issue truly isn't a Hendrickson problem. It may be another component or something else we can help with. And our guys do a great job of really working with the fleets and dealers to make sure we get that equipment back on the road as quickly as we can.
Yeah, well, and how important is that relationship now? I mean, we mentioned all the change, you mentioned the virtual training too, which is a great resource as well. But what role does that relationship play then in the service process today?
Well, I love my sales guys, and they do a great job out there. But truly, it's the service guys that keep that business going for us. They're the ones that keep the VPs of maintenance, director of maintenance that we work with on a regular basis, keep them in the Hendrickson fold and continuing to spec Hendrickson products. So it truly is that key relationship between our guys and the guys at that level.
Right, for sure. So you mentioned the Service Academy too, the Hendrickson Service Academy. So how is that available to anyone? How can anyone get involved in that, or at least go check it out?
Well, we'll set it up with a company, individuals, whoever's up for it. But you do need a password, so you need to be approved to go online. We want to make sure we're getting the right people in, and we like to track it, obviously.
Right.
But we'll work with fleets if they want to use that as a way to track their technicians' progress through the Hendrickson courses. I know a few are using it today. If they finish a certain number of courses, they'll actually get a little bump up in their pay scale, their hourly wage.
Okay.
So we do work hand in hand with bigger fleets to make sure that they're staying on track.
I see. So it's more than just a repository of videos. It's kind of a training course, so you can stay current on what's going on with the service side.
It can be. So if there is a VP of maintenance that wants to keep track of his whole team, he can look at that right through our academy and see exactly how they're doing and coming along in the process. And
then there are quizzes or kind of tests there at the end of those segments. And so you watch the video, you get some of the technical information, you can kind of take a quick quiz to see how you do.
That's exactly how it works, Jason. You can go through it. It's segmented, so you get updates and quizzes throughout it. And then a final one at the end to make sure that you're keeping the knowledge of what you just learned.
Yeah, well, and it's a good way to kind of look. There's a lot of training that goes on. Service, of course, important, but there's a big safety component to that. So any components that you can kind of build in there, again, to your point, direct from the source, so you know that the information is accurate and safe, right, to be working on.
We deal with a lot of safety critical components. There's no question about it. It's something we take very seriously, but also take a lot of pride in. When you're talking about wheel ends and making sure you're getting the correct torque values and setting them up properly, that we take that to heart. That's a key core concept for us.
Right. So to get involved, reach out to the Hendrickson rep or your relationship there, and they can get you rolling with it, right?
Absolutely, and all our information's online as well. Hopefully everybody knows their Hendrickson district manager, but along with their Hendrickson regional service manager. Yes, sir.
Right, for sure. Well, Rence, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it and learned a lot, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again very soon.
Sounds great, Jason. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.